Yo, what is going on, everybody? My name is Alan and this is Project Elevate, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about a collector level and my thought process behind kind of like just buying cards and stacking up that collector level while maintaining a healthy amount of MT. So I just wanted to give you, a lot of it's going to be common sense, but I wanted to give you a little glimpse inside to my mind and my thought process behind all that. I didn't start going for this collector level for a while, but now I'm about 61 cards away from Scottie Pippen, and then I get into the real juicy stuff. Dwayne Wade and Anthony Davis are definitely the guys that I'm most excited about. So anyway, let me go ahead and give you just a quick little glimpse into that process. Alright, so obviously you want to start with the lowest price cards available that you don't have in your collection. Most of those are going to be, ball cards, logos, playbooks, arenas. Some of the jerseys are really cheap, and most of the coaches below like amethyst tier are going to be very cheap as well. There's no sense in buying like a bunch of cards for like 2000 MT when you can buy cards for like 500 or less. One strategy that really helps me out is that as I'm kind of going through that and picking up those cards, if I find something that's like a decent deal, a lot of times I'll pick it up and then I'll resell it. So if I can make 3-4k MT on something, for example, like a city jersey that's really expensive, is it worth grabbing it cheap now? Maybe not, because those prices are going to dip down in the future, or maybe when fire content drops and everybody's like just tossing everything up, you will have opportunity to buy those more expensive things later on. This is very common sense, but I'm gonna sell high price cards, pink diamonds that I'm just not really using, that aren't essential to my lineup, and I'll sell a couple of those. That way I can have a couple extra 100,000 MT to buy up a bunch of cards. Remember, at the end of this, when you get to the final stage and you get Anthony Davis, you can sell back your whole collection. It's not worth it for me to just stockpile a bunch of really high tier cards that are high price, that are just eating up MT, when those cards are going to be less expensive later on as the year progresses. Alright, so when it comes to completing these collections, I've already completed the current and in the current series 2. For the most part, I have a couple of players, I think only Giannis and Steph here, which I could buy. I'm just kind of waiting to get a really good deal on one of them. And then here I pretty much, again, just Steph, and then the pink diamonds is what I'm missing from this collection here. And I'm working on the heat check, but the process is the same pretty much for all these collections. So what I do is I just go into the auction house. This is very common sense. I'll go into that tier, I'll click this enabled button. Now this enabled button will glitch out a lot if there's too much feeding into it. So sometimes you do need to sort it out by like division or team and then go through the process, or else it just kind of doesn't, like if I go through here and this is a good example here. If I go into here and I just click enabled, it says nothing. So it says I have everything, which is not true. I'm missing a few cards from here. But as I start going into here and closing the parameters down a little bit, it's feeding less information and it doesn't glitch out. I don't know why it does that, but I notice that it does that all the time. So you do have to kind of shrink down your sources a little bit, put a couple filters on there to get that to show up properly. Alright, so for heat checks, I'm gonna go ahead and go down here and set my threshold to about 1900, click enabled, see what pops up. Nothing's going on there. So I'll kind of bring it up a little bit. He's there. He didn't show up in the other one, so it kind of glitched out. Another user bought that auction. Alright. So I'll kind of see what's kind of floating around here, and I'll pick them up. And I'll boost up my collection that way. Alright, so what I will do every once in a while is I'll set up thresholds, below what my buy threshold is, and I'll click off the disabled. So I'm just going to see what pops up in that section, and I'll just go through like a little mini snipe session, and if something good pops up, I'll pick it up. This card I actually don't have, so that's a W. Him I do have. I'm going to pick him up anyway, and I'm going to see if maybe he sells for quite a bit. 1700. I typically don't see Isaiah Thomas there, so who knows, maybe those are a little bit of snipes. And basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a couple hundred MT every once in a while you'll get a card that's worth a lot more, and you get, you know, you make a couple thousand MT. But I'm doing that to kind of like offset the cost of buying these cards. I don't want to dip too far low. For me, if I ever dip below 250,000 MT, I'm kind of getting into a panic mode. So I'm always going to constantly replenish my MT before I go on these like long shopping sprees. Okay, so once I have a collection decently filled out, where I have, like, for example, here, the Suns, I'm only missing a few players. At this point, that's when I come into the collection screens here, and I just kind of click on them, see what's going on. I want to see what price they're kind of like sitting at, going for, etc., and then see if I can get some decent deals on them. You know, maybe some of them are sitting just like a couple hundred MT above like my threshold, but it's a really good price for them, etc., etc. So the process is the same. I do the same thing with the current ones, and I'll go into a card that I don't have, and I'll just kind of find it in the auction house. I'll see what's up. Like, this is a little snipe right here. He's not gonna sell definitely for 22, but hey, if the cheapest one is 22 and I put one of him up for like 35 or 5,000, he may sell. I'm not in a crazy hurry for him to sell, but you know, that's a nice little example there. So that was an opportune time to check on that particular card. Now, I typically won't do this when I have like a team like the Hornets here, where I have like the whole collection to fill out. It just takes way too long to click on each one and see what they're going for. That's why I do the other method first, and I just pick up everything that's below a certain threshold. Then I kind of like fill in the gaps here and there, or I'm willing to go above the threshold if it's like to complete a collection and like that card just happens to be very expensive or whatever. I can go through it like that. I do the same process for a lot of these collections. You can do this with all these theme sets as well. Sometimes I'll just kind of like go into one and just click it, scroll through. I'm not like hardcore sniping here, just looking for some good deals. And every once in a while you do see something. Obviously you want to go to the 4-hour mark. That's where most of the good deals are going to pop up. So he's sitting at about 10, 10.5. So if I see something for like 8 or below, then I'm going to scoop him up. So 9, that's already a pretty good deal. I could pick him up, and I'll just do that throughout the, you know, the collections, just casually, kind of in between games. It's a good way to kill some time and kind of like break the cycle of, you know, playing online or playing offline or whatever it is you're doing. And as a little side tip, this is also a good time to check on some of the cards that maybe aren't like super hot. You know, they're not like super saturated, and sometimes you can pick up some nice little snipes, and those snipes will actually really help you replenish that MT that you're using to buy up these collector level cards. As you see, we just kind of scroll through. He's usually about 25. It's a good deal, not really a snipe. With most of these cards, what I'm looking for is not really to add them to my collection. Unless I get them really cheap, then sometimes I'll add them. And then those will be like an extra little card that I have that in case I need to sell something to kind of like, you know, trade one card for like 10 cards or something like that. But a lot of times if I get them real cheap, I'll just keep them in the collection. I don't want to have to like look for them later and pay a lot more for them. So again, there's certain cards that I know that have a certain value, and I'll kind of just casually check on them to see. 65, it's not too bad. But if, for example, I saw like a Bam Adebayo here for like 50,000 MT, that's something that I would pick up and then just flip, make that quick little, you know, 10k MT, and then just replenish my MT store there. All right, so gradually you just keep repeating that process, and it's a process of kind of, you know, replenishing MT, spending some, replenishing, spending some, but spending it like in a way that isn't going to totally leave you broke. All right, and the last part of this, I guess, is you have to really balance out keeping your MT from dipping down too low, because you will get to a point where you're kind of stuck, and then you're gonna have to just sell a bunch of the collection to like even play the game or get a player you really like. So my threshold is usually like 250,000 MT. I really don't like to get below that, and at that point, you know, I'll go into my collection. I'll just search like high tiered cards, and I'll just be like, okay, who am I not using that I could probably, you know, get away with selling? So for example, Pete Maravich is probably going to go pretty soon. I have the option of Iggy's got to go pretty soon. John Wall's probably going to go, and I have all these collection reward players and token reward players and stuff like that that can kind of do the same thing a lot of these guys do. So it's not like a big deal. But definitely you want to keep a couple players in your stash as you kind of upgrade and like find budget versions of those cards to kind of like sell and then, you know, do your thing and keep your MT up. Alright guys, so that's going to be about it for the video. Again, wanted to give you a quick glimpse into my mindset on how to best go about these collector levels without going through all your MT and being able to enjoy the game, making steady progress towards it, and just break up the monotony of, you know, playing, you know, online or offline or whatever. Anyway, if you found this video helpful, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you want more content like that. My name is Alan, this is Project Elevate. Until next time, elevate your grind, your game, yourself, and each other. Peace.